up, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Amanda and welcome to Amanda's Kitchen. In today's video, we're going to be making four different coffee flavor syrups. My previous coffee syrup video, which I posted last year, is the most popular video on this channel, so I thought I would do another version just to add some more variety to our selection. So today we are going to be doing a dairy-free peppermint mocha, a caramel, a maple vanilla, and a toffee nut, which I'm really excited to try. And these are great not only for flavoring your coffee or lattes, but even doing like hot chocolates or just like flavored steamed milks. So I can't wait to try these. So if that's something you're interested in, stay tuned and let's get started. So jumping right into this first recipe, maple vanilla syrup. Does that not sound fire as hell? Super simple, 1 cup water, 1/4 cup of sugar, 1/4 cup maple syrup, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I'm gonna add this to a small saucepan over medium heat and just keep stirring that up until the sugar is dissolved. You wanna make sure there's no granules left in there, and then gently bring this up to a boil and let it simmer. No, boil, because I just said boil. We're gonna let it boil gently, very gently, for about 2 minutes until it has kind of thickened up. And this just sounds and smells so good. And I am so excited to make an oat milk latte with this syrup with a little bit of cinnamon on top. Sounds fire. So once that boiling time is complete, remove it from the heat and let this cool completely before adding it to your storage container. And this will last for about 2 weeks in the refrigerator. I'll link the recipe as well as where I got these jars off of Amazon in the description box below if you want to try this recipe for yourself. And then jumping right into our next recipe, chestnut praline syrup. I don't know about you, but my go-to holiday Starbucks order is a chestnut praline latte with soy, no whipped cream, and oh my gosh, like it's just so delicious. And I really wanted to try making this at home. And I know the holiday season is over, but that doesn't mean I still don't crave this flavor. So I chopped up 1/2 cup of pecans and about 5 cooked chestnuts into pretty small pieces. And I actually only roasted them for 5 minutes since I cut them up before I roasted them just to save some time on this recipe. And then once those were done roasting, I combined that with 3/4 cup of brown sugar, 1/4 cup of cane sugar, 1 cup water, and then mixed that up. And then just like we did for the first syrup, oh, excuse me, we want to kind of stir that and cook it on low until the sugar is dissolved, and then slowly bring that up to a boil. And this recipe called to let this kind of simmer boil for about 10 minutes. So it's a little bit longer. This one did take a little bit more time, but I think it's gonna be worth it. So the chestnut praline syrup is bubbling away. Still has a few minutes left on the timer, but I wanted to take note because I think I'm going to leave the nuts in the syrup overnight just to kind of infuse it a little bit more. So instead of transferring it right into the syrup bottles with the pumps, I'm just gonna put it in a jar and let it sit overnight and then add it into the jar tomorrow with the pump. That way I can sift out the nuts, but hopefully that'll give it like a more infused flavor. We'll see. And then once this was done, you remove it from the heat and let it cool for a bit and then add in the salt and vanilla. It doesn't need to be cold, but just let it sit for a teensy bit. And then just as before, let this cool to room temperature before jarring it. And I actually did end up deciding to let this soak overnight with the nuts in the jar because I thought that it would marinate a little bit better, intensify the flavors. And I didn't taste it beforehand, but I tasted it after, and this is so delicious. It's worth the work to have this little treat. And I just came back to this the next day and strained off those nuts and fortunately realized that, what are you thinking, Amanda? Like 2 cups of chopped nuts is not gonna fit in this baby strainer. So I had to get a bigger one, but this did yield about 1 cup of syrup, and it was so delicious because I spilled it on the counter and then tasted what I spilled on the counter, and fantastic. Can't wait to make my own soy milk chestnut praline latte. This is great. Just try this recipe. I'll link it below. It's fire. It's so fire. So I also wanted to point out that I saved the chestnuts and pecans that were soaking in this syrup, and I'm going to mix this in my oatmeal throughout the week for breakfast in order to not waste it. It's gonna be so delicious. This is my favorite. If you're gonna try anything, try this one. And then moving right into our next recipe, caramel or caramel, whatever you want to call it. 2 ingredients, 1 cup of sugar, 1/4 cup of water going into this pan. And we're going to once again start out at a lower heat. This one took a little more combining, okay? So you really have to kind of be patient and stir this and dissolve that huge cup of sugar into that tiny bit amount of water. And it just takes some time, all right? But it's okay. And then once you have like a slurry situation happening, and once it starts to bubble and foam, okay, you wanna let it foam for like 2 minutes. That's what the recipe called for, so that's what we did. And then, very important, you wanna boil 2/3 cup of water. You wanna make sure you're putting hot liquid into this hot sugar water that we did, so we don't create like splashing, okay? So hot water, boiling hot water, turn it down because I was afraid, and then add in that hot water, okay? So after it's removed from the heat, you know what? This is just gonna be what we did. And I was like totally afraid I was gonna burn this, so I definitely don't think that I had it on the heat long enough, because it's supposed to turn like a caramel color. You can definitely see that it turned like amber-ish, but it's still pretty much clear. So I definitely need to try this one again. I didn't really think it turned out how I wanted. It just tastes like straight up sugar. So we'll see. But you know, it doesn't always work out. Okay, jumping into our final recipe, a dairy-free peppermint mocha syrup. And I was really excited to try this one, and I kind of wonder if you can do it with any other milk. The recipe I found used 1 can of light coconut milk combined with 3/4 of a cup of coconut sugar or brown sugar. I did use brown sugar since I already had it out. And then a 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. And then at the end, we add in the peppermint and the salt, just like we did the chestnut praline. So this took a little whisking because you want to make sure you get all that cocoa powder nice and wet and combined. And just as we did for the other recipes, we're gonna bring this to a boil. Careful, this will foam up because it's milk and not water. So like, definitely keep an eye on it. And if it starts to foam up, don't freak out. Just pick the pan up off of the heat and it'll settle. And then once you kind of get that boil going, reduce to a simmer. And this time we're going to let it go uncovered for 14 minutes, just whisking every couple minutes, just keeping an eye on it, adjusting the heat as needed. And yeah, like same situation, but really giving this the opportunity to kind of break down those sugars and combine. And this smelled so good. And I'm thinking to myself, I need to make a hot chocolate with this like pronto. Like cute little Spyro, had to film that. And then once this is done, remove it from the heat and let it sit for like a minute or so before you add in your teaspoon of peppermint extract and 1/8 teaspoon of salt. Give it another whisk to combine and you are all set. This was smelling so delicious, and like I said, I couldn't resist making a hot chocolate, so I think we might just have to do that. But just as before, we're gonna let this cool to room temperature before putting it into our jar. And as all of these recipes, I highly recommend storing them in the refrigerator and letting them, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. I lost my space because I'm like, is my video lagging? No, I don't know what's going on. Anyway, store them in the fridge for like about 2 weeks if they can last that long. All right, we're just gonna jump right into it to, you know, making that hot chocolate I was talking about. So I just put some oat milk in my frother and kind of heated that up. And then there was a little bit left of the syrup that didn't fit in the jar, so it was meant to be. Poured that into my mug, and once my milk was nice and frothy, poured that right into my cup with that peppermint peppermint chocolate mixture, and this was so good. 10 out of 10, highly recommend. Give this one a try. Loved it. All right, and that is a wrap for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed and found some new flavored syrups that you like. Let me know in the comment section below which recipe you're going to try, or what other variety of syrup sounds like a great option to try. I'd love to hear from you as well. If you're new to this channel, I want to thank you again for sticking around. Consider subscribing, and don't forget to hit that thumbs up on this video if you found it interesting and you like the content that I am creating. So I hope you guys are having a great day. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.